Now joining us, Bud Hopkins, a UFO investigator, the man who introduced Dr. Mack to the UFO phenomenon. And from Lexington, Kentucky, Dr. Robert Baker, a psychologist, retired, University of Kentucky. He says that Dr. Mack's patients are not visited by aliens, but are experiencing hallucinations called waking dreams. In all cases, Dr. Mack works with hypnosis, but not in your case, right, Mary?
No.
That's great. And Mary's not in the book.
I think it's important to stress that at least 30% of the memories that are connected with this phenomenon are retrieved without hypnosis, that people remembered consciously. Hypnosis is simply a way of relaxing the mind so the person can fill out the parts of their experience that they have difficulty remembering and bring back the feelings.
Bud, you've long been a proponent of this. Is this finally closer to the Hopkins dream come true?
Well, what's essentially happening is that more and more people are realizing that this has simply got to be investigated. It's an extraordinary phenomenon, and an extraordinary phenomenon demands an extraordinary investigation.
What do you make of
the
Mack book?
Well, I think that this has been a very, very helpful thing for the field, because John has gone out on a limb here, professionally and so forth. It's been easier for me to do this because as an artist, I haven't got tenure, so to speak, to worry about.
Have your friends at Harvard laughed?
They're a little too nervous to laugh. They wonder why I'm doing this, why I'm taking such risks. They wish I wouldn't do it. The acting chair of my department says, I wish John wouldn't do this work.
But you're not in danger here of...
I don't know yet about that, for sure.
Okay, Dr. Baker, what do you make of all this?
Well, extraordinary claims demand extraordinary proof, and so far we have the claims, but we don't have the proof. The proof, of course, there is no material evidence to back up these claims, despite the fact that people claim that the implants are there and that there's circles on the ground and that people see UFOs and so on. We have absolutely no photographs of aliens whatsoever. All we have are drawings and so on.
That has been said. There's never been a viable piece of evidence. You can show us. He's gone through hypnosis. Show us.
Well,
a picture.
What you're saying is,
you should have a camera handy by the bed every second.
We have photographs of UFOs that have gone through all kinds of analysis and which have been accepted by photo experts, optical physicists, as real objects of some size. So we've got the photographs there. We have the radar reports. We have the ground traces.
I mean, what do you make
everything except...
Why do they visit Mary and not President Clinton?
They're obviously visiting many, many, many people.
Yeah, but why not anybody?
Right.
Why not?
Well, I can assure you, Larry.
Hold on 1 second, Dr. Baker.
I have a NASA scientist who was an abductee who came to me for me to work with.
But why do you think they don't abduct Dan Rather?
Well, who knows whether they have or haven't?
Well,
is Dan Rather going to come?
Bad example. Okay, forgive me.
Is Dan Rather going to come forward and talk about it? You see, the basic point here is that the higher up the person is in the socioeconomic scale, the less likely that person is going to be willing to talk about his or her experiences.
Oh, I don't agree with you.
Oh,
think
yeah,
so?
absolutely.
Yeah. Dr. Baker, what do you think this is?
Well,
what do you call it?
Frank,
you have a name
this
for it.
is not a new phenomenon in any way. The story of alien abductions and abductions by other creatures and so on is as old as man. During the Middle Ages, people were waking up in the middle of the night and having demons sitting on their chest. During the later years, of course, we were having abductions by fairies and elves and leprechauns and so on.
You call it what, waking dreams?
Yes. In fact, what it is, technically, is known as sleep paralysis. It's a form of sleep disorder called sleep paralysis with hypnagogic and hypnopompic hallucination. Back in 1980, a psychiatrist by the name of Otto Billig investigated the claims of 3 women living in southern Kentucky who claimed that they were abducted by aliens. And then, after Billig investigated the case and talked to the women and so on, he discovered that what had happened to them, to one of the women, was she had undergone what's known as a hypnagogic hallucination. She had been very, very tired, had a long day, and as they were driving home, she fell asleep. The woman driving the car also fell asleep. And as she was falling asleep, she saw this powerful light rushing towards her, saw the light in the sky. They thought it was a UFO. After they got home, an hour and a half later, they couldn't figure out what had happened. When she reported the story...
I'm running close on time. I'm going to have to cut you a second, Dr. Baker, and we'll pick right up. We'll be right back with more. We should devote more time to this. Don't go away. Sorry, time flies so fast. Mary wants to ask or respond to Dr. Baker. Mary, to Dr. Baker.
I think it's important to note that in my case, there have been 4 separate individuals in the past 4 years who have witnessed things at my house during evenings when I've had abductions and encounters. They have seen bright lights, heard unexplainable loud tones, experienced between 20 minutes to 2 hours of missing time, woken up with strange marks, unexplainable marks on their bodies. 4 separate individuals. I don't think that 4 separate individuals are having the same sleep disorder if that's what he thinks this is.
Dr. Mack?
See, Dr. Baker is doing what a lot of critics do, is they take 1% of the phenomenon, maybe some sleep state of consciousness, they leave out the other 99%. The physical marks, the UFOs, the fact the person is missing, the consistency of the stories among various people, the occurrence of the phenomenon in children as young as 2 or 3 years old. All of that is just ignored in favor of a theory that takes a little fraction of the situation.
Plus,
Hold on, I'll have you respond. Hold on one second.
Plus, we also have a situation where 6, 7, 8 people are abducted simultaneously. And remember the entire experience.
Well, Dr. Baker, if all of this is what you think, how could there be so much of it?
Well,
this seems like there must be an epidemic of these dreams.
4 to 5% of the population has what we call sleep paralysis with hypnopompic and hypnagogic hallucinatory phenomena accompanying it. This includes, of course, when the people feel there's a weight on their chest, they're paralyzed and can't move.
So you think
they feel
Mary,
like they're floating?
So
all of this phenomena.
You think Mary dreamt this?
Yes, all of this phenomena is commonly associated with the hypnopompic dream, hallucinatory dream.
And how do my dreams?
Very, very common.
And how do my dreams cause puncture marks, Dr. Baker?
I think you're doing that with your nails and toenails and fingernails.
And does he think the quadriplegic put the same lesions on his body?
Well, all these extraordinary claims I will not accept without concrete, positive, scientifically established fact.
Where's the data of your work, Dr. Baker? What have you looked into? What cases have you looked into
We've
yourself?
been investigating these claims for many years. I've written 2 books discussing the phenomena.
With no data.
Class wrote a book several years ago.
But where are the case stories, the case histories?
This is all very carefully cataloged.
You, Dr. Baker,
it's a very important thing about, you just mentioned one of these books. The book was largely about me and 7 abductees. He never interviewed a single solitary person that he wrote the book about. Now, you're a journalist.
That's not true.
That is absolutely true. I can assure you it's true.
You mean he never talked to any?
He never talked to me,
You say that's not
Strieber,
true.
any of the people he talked about.
Right. We'll be right back with our remaining moments, and we'll get a call in too, I promise, right after this. Woodland Hills, California. Hello.
Hello. Good evening, young lady. Good evening, gentlemen. I have a question, but I just wanted to say, first of all, Mr. Baker is primitive. My question is, first of all, why is it that the United States government under Eisenhower mentioned the aliens that were found, I believe 5 of them in the 50s, and then it was covered up and denied, and there's been so much hush-hush.
You have a quote from Eisenhower, sir?
I'm sorry?
You have a quote from Dwight David Eisenhower on this?
I don't have a quote, but I spoke to a military man who was in the military, and
what you mean? One guy told you something?
Yes, he told me that.
Why would you believe
that? He was involved with the during the time in the mountains.
Okay, well, maybe he was lying.
He has no reason to lie. He was a top military man. Why would he lie?
Okay, we have obviously got to do a lot more on this. And your purpose, John, is to...
Well, these are very isolated people. Mary threatens to lose her job by coming on the line here to talk about this. This is not... People are thought to be crazy. I know airline pilots that have seen UFOs and been abducted. They don't want to admit it because they're afraid that they will be taken off their work.
We're going to do a lot more on this. Thank you all very much for coming. We're out of time. Tomorrow night, from...